guys, I wanted to make you all a quick video over exponential functions. Now, I'm gonna go over this relatively quickly, just so you can work on your big ideas assignment. I apologize, I'm not here today, and we'll go over it in even more detail next class period. But let's just look at a couple basics. An exponential function is a function that has a base to a power. You usually see it this way. All right, your b is your base, and some power is going to tell you what the apparent function is. And of course, this is your exponent. And sometimes you'll have a number in front of b. It's just the coefficient of the power, kind of like in a linear function. Usually it's y equals x, but sometimes you have y equals 3x. All right, it's just a transformation to the function. All right, so just like with any other function, to graph it, you have to make a table, you plot some points. So one thing we'll go over next class period is that when we plug in 0, y to the 0 power is going to be 1. All right, and then 1/2 to the first power is 1/2. 1/2 to the second power is 1/4. And I'm going to put in some negative numbers also. This will be 2. This will be 4. All right, so again, if we are to graph these, shoot, I'm gonna get this graph. So -1 is 2, -2 is 4. I'm going to tell you -3 is 8. 1 was 1/2, 2 was 1/4, 3 would be 1/8, so on and so forth. And notice that this graph forms this beautiful curve. All right, there's a couple of characteristics you need to know. For one, we already know this one, the y-intercept. And this line here, notice that as this number increases, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So if we have 1/2 to the third power, it would be 1/8. 1/2 to the fourth power would be 1/16. 1/2 to the fifth power would be 1/32. And we can look at that. We can pull up a table in the calculator. If you go to y equals, let me clear this out, and put in that exact same function. So I have 1/2 to the x. Let me zoom in for y'all. So if I look at the table, to get to the table, normally we'd press graph, which if we do press graph, it'll graph that line for us, which looks similar to what we have, right? But to see what those points are, we press second and then graph. And notice we get the same values. So as it gets more negative, those numbers get bigger. But when we go down, notice that it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, never quite getting to 0. So it's always getting closer, but it'll never cross 0. This is called an asymptote. It's a boundary line that the graph will never cross. All right, so our asymptote is a horizontal line, and we know that a horizontal line is y equals 0. So this line here, the asymptote, is at the line y equals 0. Our y-intercept, of course, remember, is a point. So it's 0, 1. And our domain and range. Remember, domain is the furthest left to the furthest right. All right. So this graph goes up and to the left forever. So it goes from negative infinity to infinity. So it goes to the left forever, to the right forever, which is also called all real numbers. Now I'm looking at the domain, we're looking at the furthest down to the furthest up. So it goes, remember, it goes up forever, all right? But it goes down and it doesn't cross zero, but it approaches zero. So we know the furthest boundary line is zero. So it goes from 0 to infinity. All right, so for class, I want you to do these next 3 and use your calculator to, again, you punch in the function, the y equals. So for instance, the one down here, you have 2 times 2 to the x. So you do 2 times 2 to the x. Then you look at your points. Oh, and those are large, so you can go up to what we have on our graph. You're going to plot those points, draw the line, and then answer those questions there. All right. Then after you're done with this, you have a big ideas assignment that's very similar to this one. And just knock those out, and we'll go over this next class, but your big ideas assignment is due next class. All right. See you guys in class.